bench, just having a good old time.
And she's off.
Did she just grasp two to replace that?
Dr. Thompson, where are you? I can't recognize that room. He's not there.
Miss Dickerson, they're in the administration conference room.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't recognize that little spot in the back had me confused. I haven't been there in so long, I didn't recognize the room setting. Thank you. How's everyone?
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Much better.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Thank you so very much. It is now 6 o'clock, and I will at this particular point in time call Richland County Administration and Finance Committee meeting to order. And I guess the very first thing I need to ask Ms. Only to call the roll to see whether or not we have a quorum. Ms. Only.
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Here.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Here.
Walker,
Miss, only before we call Mr. Walker, I need to let you know that he informed me earlier today that he will not be able to join the meeting this afternoon. So I want my council members and committee members to know that he will not be joining us because it's a family obligation. So he will not be joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call Miss Myers?
I did. She did not respond, but we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. So the next item on the agenda will be item 2, approval of the minutes from October 27, 2020. You will find them on page 7 through 15. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the October 27th meeting.
So move.
Properly moved in second in a discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify. Ms. Only, please call the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item will be the approval of the agenda, and I have not received any additions to add with the unanimous consent. Mr. Brown, do you have anything that needs to be added or deleted from the agenda prior to the approval?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Ms. Only, please call the roll.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
First item will be item 4, and I want to remind my colleagues that we have a extensively long agenda, so hopefully we can get through it quickly. The items that we have prior to, there are items that have been carried over for several other meetings, and I want you to know if I sound and look a little slurred, it's because I'm dealing with the root canal and dental work, so I'm kind of old looking today. So anyhow, the first item is item 4A, that is the sale of property located on Farrar Road, text map number R1700-20-1 and the number 17300-2. You find this information on page 16 through 29. And staff, there are several options I've noticed that we have 4 options, and I would right now entertain a motion on this item for discussion. Mr. Malinowski, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I'll make a motion. I think we actually kind of need an option and a couple things here. Maybe option 4, instruct staff how to proceed in a different manner. And the reason I would make that motion is that council, the full council, passed a set of rules and requirements as to how to divest the county of property. And none of that was taken into consideration here. It's my understanding we don't even have a list of surplus property at this time. So I think that the staff needs to create such a list in conjunction with the council members whose districts that they lie in, and not just accept unsolicited contracts to purchase property that nobody really knows if it is surplus or not. So I would move to accept option 4 for them to proceed as I just mentioned.
Yeah, I can second it.
I'll second it. Sorry.
Okay, I let Miss Myers, I think that was Miss Myers who seconded that motion.
I think both. Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Oh, Miss McBride, we had a double second.
Okay, well, I tell you, I'm gonna back off, and I think Miss McBride came first, so I will let Miss Bride, if you don't mind, Miss Myers.
Sure. I do
Okay,
not
the
mind.
motion has been properly second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, Miss Only, will you please call the roll?
Ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes.
Okay, and there's no one else to have any no's. So then, thank you so very much. Next item will be 4B, sewer availability, letter for brunch at Garner's Ferry Road Development, and you'll find that information that is on page 35 through 46, 30 through 34. I hope you all had the opportunity to look at that information. I will entertain a motion on that item.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
I have a motion and to approve, and I'll second it, because I see Mr. Malinowski's hand, so we can.
I was gonna say, I'll second for discussion.
Okay, Mr. Malinowski, second for discussion. Mr. Malinowski, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in favor of moving forward with this. I just have a couple questions that I want to make sure get done prior to any completion of this. And on
Okay.
30 of our agenda,
Mhm.
item number 1, it says that it talks about completion of the Southeast Sewer Water and Expansion Project. But if we have unexpected delays, I think that needs to be maybe put in here somewhere so the county isn't held accountable and have somebody say, well, you told us you'd be done by this date. And I think that needs to be addressed. Something else that I did not see in what's in front of us is a hold harmless or a not at fault agreement in the event of delays or other problems that may come about. And lastly, some type of memorandum of understanding with this particular development group. Those are 3 things I'd like to see put in there as a condition of moving forward with this.
Okay. The second of the those are friendly amendments to the, Ms. Myers, you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am, you.
before we make those, thank you, ma'am. Before we make those friendly amendments, may I ask Mr. Malinowski a question?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Mr. Malinowski, I agree with your concerns. I actually looked at this and thought this should be standardized through the legal department, because those things would all be included if the legal department were responsible for providing this document rather than Bunch providing it to us and then staff moving to approve what Bunch has provided. I would, instead of your friendly amendment, like to offer a friendly amendment that says we go back and ask the legal department to take this document and generate what would be a Richland County standard document for this kind of service, which would therefore, by definition, include things that you've mentioned. Would that be acceptable to you, sir?
You wholeheartedly, Myers, thank you.
So you accept the
Okay.
friendly amendment to your friendly amendment?
Yes. We'll use
Okay,
Myers' friendly amendment to get it done.
okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much. If there's no further discussion on this item, Ms. Only, will you please call on the roll?
Yes, Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, very good. Next item will be item 4C, annual leave rollover, and you'll find that on page 35 through 46. And I believe we have Mr. Hannah on the Zoom to assist us with this matter. Hope you all had the opportunity to read through it. I find it very interesting, so I will entertain a motion on this item for discussion. Mr. Malinowski, you recognized.
Madam Chair, due to the length of the agenda, and I think both of these are similar, unless my colleagues or Mr. Hanna think otherwise, I would make a motion to approve both C and D.
Do I have a second to Mr. Malinowski's motion?
I will second.
Okay, Ms. Myers, I accept your second. Is there any discussion on these 2 items, items 4C and D?
Madam Chair, quickly,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. McBride.
with the sick leave policy, this is due to COVID-19. I would like to know, is this something that's consistently being done throughout the state or with other counties regarding COVID-19, particularly given, I know people didn't get to take their annual leave or vacation, but many were home not working at some point of time, not to be, trying not to be insensitive or insensitive. I was just wondering about the consistency of it And I believe that it will not cost the county any money financially. It's just that when we do go back to work, it's a time element. And most of all, you know that I always support HR issues, but this was one of my concerns about having adequate staffing when we do go back to work. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hannah, would you please address Ms. McBride's concerns?
And I know I had a lot of questions and comments.
That's okay. That's real good.
Yes, I'll be glad to address those. As it relates to both the annual leave and the sick leave, there would not be additional funding required. We're not proposing anything that would increase funding to address one part of Ms. McBride's concern. Another question that I think she had relates to the annual leave part. We are not proposing to change the annual leave policy, just to permit employees to roll over one additional accrued leave week, and that would expire June 21st. So with the annual leave, we're not proposing to change the policy. In regards to whether or not other employers are doing it, I included some information in the packet. The Lexington County specifically said that they weren't. The City of Columbia told me that they were thinking about it and they thought it was something they should do, but they hadn't done it. And looking beyond South Carolina, some employers are doing 2 weeks, some 10 days and different things. So many employers are doing it. Not all employers are doing it. In regards to the sick leave.
I support the sick leave.
Okay, thank you. I'll stop there then.
Okay.
So my issue was this, Madam Chair, my issue was with the annual leave. But I think Mr. Hannah explained it, said that's until June 2021. Is that correct, Mr. Hannah?
Yes, ma'am. We wanted to encourage employees to take the leave because we think it's a good thing for their mental wellness. To address one of your other points, which I did not touch on, I'm sorry. The leave would have to be approved by their supervisor, chain of command, or management. So it could not be a situation where if the department needed them to work, they can just say, I'm taking this rollover week. It would have to be approved.
And that's with all leave. Is that, Madam Chair, may I continue?
Yes, you may.
That is with all leave, right? That it has to be approved by their supervisor?
Yes, ma'am. And the same would be true for this, for the sick leave. Obviously with the sick leave, unless they had some emergency medical situation.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I support the sick leave part. I was just concerned about the annual leave and having adequate staff once we do get back to work. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I see you, Mr. Malinowski. Mr. McBride, does that conclude your?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Malinowski, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. McBride, if you'd prefer, I'll be glad to just make these motions one at a time, if it would be more comforting to you.
No, I'm in a good mood tonight.
Well, no, Mr. Malinowski, leave her alone. So, Miss, only I'll ask you to call the roll for item 4, C and D.
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes.
Thank you so very much. Next item will be item 4E, repeal and change of a position of Richland County Ordinance Article X, whatever, inquiry and investigation of Section 2-652, conduct investigation A1, and so that start with commence. My little tongue is getting crazy. Any of official investigation. In addition, have the Richland County Legal Department to in conjunction with the Richland County Lobbyist Contract, South Carolina State Legislature and the State South Carolina Association of Counties to request Section 4-9660 of the South Carolina Code of Law by repeal, change. And so that information you'll find on pages 51 through 54. And I have a lot of questions about it, but I will entertain a motion so we can discuss it.
So move for discussion.
Nice. I hear Ms. Myers move for discussion. Do I hear seconds?
Yes, I second.
No, ma'am, I didn't move for
Second.
discussion.
Okay, okay.
That was McBride.
Okay, Ms. McBride, discussion. Did you have your hand up for discussion?
Yeah, I would like to at least have a little bit of layman terminology in terms of what's being requested.
Yeah, because I got, only thing on my sheet here, I got more question marks than I can address. So if legal can help us with this item 4E, I will certainly entertain them at this particular time. Do we have legal on?
This is Brad Farrar. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what the intent is. I mean, if you look at the agenda material, I mean, I would just say that, if you're going to, there's one section that I think was proposed to be eliminated from state law, which is section 49660, which quite obviously, the state would have to repeal its own statute. But what that says is that other than the purposes of inquiry, council members should deal with the administrator for matters dealing with employees under the administrator's, control. And, if you do that, I mean, you potentially could have a situation where you're changing the form of government from a council administrator form to a council form of government without a referendum. So, I mean, this is, like I say, I don't know what the intent is, but this has got something that, you probably want to kind of run out those contingencies before you press on with this one.
Well,
Madam Chair,
okay, Ms. Myers, you're recognized. And then
can I just say,
Malinowski?
I wish you could see my notes because Mr. Farrar, that is exactly correct. And
Right.
to the extent that we have council administrative form of government, there's a reason that the council members are supposed to speak to the administrator and not be running around to every member of staff, instructing them and interrogating them about their jobs. That's not the council administrative form of government, which is why I did not move for approval of this item. I think it's inappropriate. I think if we're going to do this, it should be by referendum.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Malinowski, you're recognized. You were, and I don't, Mr. Malinowski, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The reason I brought this forward is because when you look on page 53 under 2-652A, it says that it's a violation of the law for any member of the council to individually do any of the following. And number one says that you're not allowed to commence any investigation or utilize manpower or facilities of the county. Basically, it's saying if you see something that you believe is a violation of the law, you're not allowed to report it to law enforcement, which I felt as an individual citizen, you would have the right to report it, whether you are an elected official or not. And that's why the legal department had written the red underlined portion that says, notwithstanding the foregoing. All right. So we agree to the foregoing, but any council member may, in their individual capacity as a citizen, file a report to county officers, employees, or officials, business with the appropriate law enforcement authorities. It's not for the individual to run around questioning or talking to employees or anyone else. If I see somebody commit what I believe is a violation of the law, be they a county employee, an elected official, or just a regular person out there in the street, I should be entitled to report that. But the way I read this law right now, it did not give me the right to do that and forbid me to do that, especially if it involved reporting a violation of the law within the county government. And Mr. Farrar can correct me if I'm wrong in my interpretation of that.
Well, like I said, certainly I don't have a legal mind, or neither can I, do legal opinion. I'm JD, but not in any capacity an attorney. So I didn't really understand it. I mean, I know from the years being here this has been somewhat of a problem, but I don't really know how to address it. But Mr. Brad, can you continue to help us with this? Because I'm not sure where to go, but I got so many questions in my paper. I can't tell you what
Dickerson,
to do.
I'd just like to add that the red underlined portion that we're looking at on page 53 is one that was created by the legal department, not me.
Yeah, this is Brad. I think where this has a potential to get confusing is just if we have a generic use of the word investigation. If you're talking about an administrative inquiry, that's probably the origin of this, 2-652, because that you're talking about using official resources. And if it's for an administrative purpose, that would obviously have to go through the appropriate procedures with the county. But when you get to what Mr. Malinowski's point is, yeah, I mean, you don't want to have a chilling effect on anybody talking to law enforcement for any legitimate purpose, because you could get into obstruction of justice at that point. So I mean, I think that's one of those that ought to be emphasized. If it's not, that anybody, council member, citizen, staff, whomever, has the right as a U.S. citizen to go talk to their law enforcement folks about anything they think is appropriate. So I think we're probably on the same page on that one. But I think the 2-652 originally was intended to talk to administrative investigations. So that addition, which I didn't draft, but I agree with, I think that red line makes sense based upon what y'all are trying to achieve, as I understand it.
Okay, so you were saying that you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Myers.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please finish. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just.
I was just going to say with the way that we have been doing things at Richland County, we aren't asking for administrative review. We aren't asking for review of policies. We are criminalizing what anybody does with which we don't agree. And I will just say, as this county's most recent victim of all of that, I think it's reprehensible. I think if people have administrative questions, they ought to ask administrative questions. We got a lot of people who get paid to ask administrative questions. And before you go hauling off, calling people criminals, there ought to be some process. And it ought not be that we are now codifying, basically, rather than people following a process and actually asking questions and gathering evidence and providing, go figure, fairness and due process, that we just allow for folks to just decide, well, I don't like the way this is done, and therefore it is illegal. I think that what we are doing at Richland County with the way that we have set up what is essentially a circular firing squad, we are building in even more dysfunction. I personally think that what we need to be looking at is the administrative side of the house, which is what we control, which is literally falling down around our ears, and looking at whether or not the policies and procedures that are in place need beefing up. And, nobody's going to stop anybody on this council from going to law enforcement. There's no chilling effect there. But what we like to do is we like to create firestorms in the media and in law enforcement so that we create the patina, the idea that there is something there without any evidence. I personally will say, having been just a regular citizen who came to Richland County, happy to do a good job and work with this group, it's shocking to me that normal folks think that this is the way that you ought to be running the county's business. I just don't agree with it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no further, is there any further discussion on this item? Mr. Malinowski, you recognize?
I would just say that, again, we have two different opinions, Ms. Myers and I, and in my opinion, I believe she's taking totally out of context what I was trying to do. It had nothing to do with any individual. It had to do with reading these laws over when they came to my attention and trying to make it a little bit more that an individual would be able to have their right to go to law enforcement. And the way I see it right now, they don't. So as far as hampering or limiting an individual's rights, that's how I see this one. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no further discussion on this item, I will call Ms. Only. That was probably moved. Did we have a motion on the floor on this item? Had to be because we had discussion. So all in favor, Ms. Only, can you call the roll for this item, please?
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Myers.
I'm going to vote no, but I just want to say, Mr. Malinowski, I actually truly do believe exactly what you're saying was your motive. I just don't believe it'll be used that way. So no.
Thank you.
Okay,
I understand.
the motion failed.
Motion
Next
fails.
will be for F, I move to restore 37.561 to Richland County Conservation Program Historic Preservation Grants from Richland County Conservation Commission Reserve Account to be allocated in the year 2021 grant program. And that information, you'll find that information on page 55 through 66. I will entertain a motion so we can discuss it. I entertain a motion. Yeah, Miss,
I have a motion.
Madam,
It dies with lack of a motion, Madam Chair, doesn't it?
yeah. I
Madam,
think yeah,
Madam Chair, may I speak to this item?
you may, Miss Terracio. Thank you for joining us. And I didn't see you earlier, but thank you for joining us.
Madam Chair, we don't have a motion on here for discussion purposes.
Yeah. You can't,
That's what it died. I asked for someone, but it died for no one.
can't discuss it, can she, Madam Chair?
Pardon me?
She cannot discuss it. There's no motion.
Okay, there's no motion on the item, so it died for.
Madam Chair, for the sake of allowing our colleague to discuss it, may I move it into consideration?
I think I'm in, that's allowable. I think I can approve that.
I would move to approve for the sake of allowing our colleague, Ms. Terracio, to provide her comments on the record.
Okay, do I hear a second on that? Someone approve that for me so we can have Ms. Terracio discuss her concerns?
Clarification, Madam Chair. It's just not for the motion, but just to allow her to speak on it.
Yeah, just let her speak on it, yeah.
It's not for the motion, but just for.
Ms. Myers, or that it can make for clarification, just allow Ms. the committee
I will amend my motion. I move to allow our colleague, Mr. Terracio, to provide comments on this item for the record.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'll accept that. Mr. Terracio, you are recognized.
Thank you to my colleagues on the A&F committee. So I submitted this motion because I believe it was an unintended consequence during the budget process where there was a motion to approve the lesser of two amounts in the two subsequent years. In the Conservation Commission, there's a static $250,000 for what has been several years at this point. However, they, I guess, for whatever their purposes are, divide those into two different buckets. One would be for historic preservation and one is for conservation. And so because those two buckets fluctuated year to year, it resulted in a reduction in one bucket. So this doesn't really change any budget amount. So the $250,000 is still going to the Conservation Commission. They're just stuck not being able to use it because of that motion that we did during the budget season. I hope I'm going to try to be clear and simple on this one. And then if anybody has any interest in it or questions, hopefully I can help out or staff can help out here.
Well, Ms. We just want to hear what you had to say. That died, the motion, this item died for lack of a second. And so therefore we will not be able to take any action on this. We can only hear your information. It would just remain in committee, I guess. I'm not sure what the protocol will be. And maybe we can bring this.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I
ma'am.
offer a suggestion?
You may.
It seems that Mr. Terracio has very good information. It might help if whomever on the staff or on the commission provided that information to her would provide it to you as the chair so that you'd be in a better position to inform the committee.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Mr. Terracio. Thank you for your input. We appreciate it so very much. So
Thank you.
the next item will be item 4G, move to engage third-party design build companies to begin work on the 2 million Southeast Richland County multi-purpose facility as approved by council in 2018. The funds were earmarked and approved by RC staff, has not undertaken any planning or construction of the council approved project by the end of November 2020. At this point, I will entertain a motion on this item. Hopefully you can find that information on pages.
We don't have any pages.
That's the funniest thing about it. I had to write something because the next item, there was no, the next item started on page 67 and there is no information to actually, I mean, it's just out of order. So I don't have any backup info.
I'll make a motion to.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Staff can get us some info.
Ms. Dickerson.
can I speak to my motion before you do that, Mr. Malinowski?
Go ahead, I will withdraw that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I would just actually move to put this in the bucket of things that earlier this week council said was going to be discussed in the Renaissance planning or whatever the new council wants to call it for new construction. But there was that building that we approved now, I guess 2 years ago, for which there is not even, there's never even been a meeting held to figure out what we do. And I obviously there's a need for it. So I'd like it to be, put in the list of things that are going to be worked on for whatever project the staff wants to call Renaissance now.
Okay, that sounds really great. And I can approve that. Is that a motion?
Is that your motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I will.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'd move to put it with the priorities that the staff is looking at for Renaissance or whatever it is that it's being called.
Yeah,
Okay.
enough second.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, second. Any further discussion? If not, hearing none, all in favor, Ms. Only, will you please call the roll?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. So that brings us to item 4H, and 4H is on page 67. That's where the pages got mixed up, 67 through 322. And to move, and this item is to move to remit the 300,000 private donation negotiated by Councilwoman Myers and Councilman Chip Jackson and Recreation under an IGA to be designed as funded for the Taylor Community Park, promised and fully funded as part of the economic development plan for the Rain community on Sharp Road before December 31st, 2020. These funds were donated beginning in 2017 and prior to the construction of the 2,000 beds that Rain community, which is not completed. Richland County staff has not begun planning or construction on the fully funded part. That information you'll find it on page 160, on 67 through 101, as I explained earlier. And at this point, I will entertain a motion for discussion.
Madam Chair, I'd move to have those funds given to Parks and Rec so that that community can get its park. These are private funds. These are not public funds. I work to get private funds for this park. And these funds are now 3 years old. And there's a new student facility that's over 2,000 beds on Shop Road. And we don't even have a plan for what is, a park that's the 20th of that size. So I would move to get this money out of Richland County's hands into the hands of Parks and Rec and allow them to build this park for this community.
You heard the motion. Do I hear a second? I'll second it for discussion. Okay. Do I, any discussion on this item?
Madam Chair.
Miss McBride and then Mr. Malinowski. Ms. McBride, you are recognized for 4H.
Thank you. It's my understanding, based on the comments from Councilwoman Myers, is that these are private funds. So the county, if these are private funds, how will the county be able to transfer them? And then my other concern is, if this is with Richland County Parks and Recreations, then I had money designated there some years ago and nobody knows where it is. So there's no guarantee if you put that money there that it will be used for what you want it to be used for. And it was designated for a specific item some years ago and nobody can find it now. So I have concerns with Richland County Parks and Recreation, whether they would follow through if we did approve it.
Well, I want to add, I have 11 acres that was purchased and I'm not sure where all of that is at this particular point in time. So we've had some, since there have been changes in the leadership at Parks and Recreation, a lot of things have fallen through the cracks, and to include my 11 acres, okay, that was
I understand.
for a community, what you call it, out recreation center. So I don't know exactly where it is, but let's continue on with Ms. Myers.
Well,
Madam Chair.
can I just explain where the money came from?
Ms. Myers, yeah, go ahead. That's what I was about to do.
So
too, yeah.
this, okay, thank you, Mr. Livingston. So this money, when the Rain group came in and wanted to build that big old student center that's now across from the DMV on Shop Road, the community there that I represented was not really interested in it. Mr. Jackson and I began talking about it. We met with that community a lot of times. I visited different private parks that Rain had built and talked with them about perhaps donating money to the county so that the county could then build that community a park and a buffer in exchange for allowing the 2,000-bed student facility to be built. The Rain community, the Rain owners agreed to, give $300,000 to that community by way of the county, because of course I wasn't going to take a check for $300,000 and then deliver it to the Taylor's community. So the county was a conduit. And at that point, Tracy Hegler was here, and she, she was involved in the process at the end of it and said that yes, it would not, if we had the money for a park, the county could build it, and given that it wasn't going to require public funds, it wouldn't take long. Well, all 2,000 beds at the dormitory have been built, and the county hasn't even met with the community. Literally, we haven't even been over. Nobody in Taylor's believes that there's this $300,000 because the only person who's gone over there and said it is me. So, to the extent that this is not county money, and it really was given uniquely for this community in exchange for all the noise and traffic and additional student influx in their community, I do think it's a little bit unfair for this money to be held hostage by the county. And if what we're saying is we're nervous that Parks and Rec won't take the money and immediately begin a build out either, then maybe what we do is give it to a third party. And I'm willing to be told that, but this was a direct gift to that community that they have not realized.
Yeah. Mr. Malinowski, and Ms. McBride. Mr. Malinowski, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 68 of our agenda, under strategic and generative discussion, it says staff was unable to locate council action that either acknowledged the donation or gave staff direction to move the project forward. And on page 70, there are minutes showing there that have been highlighted in my agenda that discuss the $300,000 donation. And then midway through, it refers to it as part of an economic development plan for that community. So maybe somebody needs to go back and look at economic development committee meetings, and you may find some additional information in there. I do recall all that taking place, Ms. Myers, with you and Councilman Jackson back then, in negotiating that and talking about getting that money and putting the park there. And it's my recollection that council did approve it. So if the county can't do it, then we need to do something else to get that money to where it's supposed to be used. And maybe we need some legal input to figure out how to do it. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, Ms. McBride.
That was part of my question in terms of written verification regarding the resources and where they were supposed to go and where we have them now. So with that said, it's still, if we could get a little bit more clarity with that, then I think it should go where it is inviting that they say we're going to provide funds and for the reason.
Okay, I need to get a clarity on, since we've had a lot of discussion, I need clarity on how we need to proceed with this motion. Ms. Myers, do you want to help clarify so we can vote on this item? Ms. Myers?
Madam Chair, I got kicked out. I'm sorry, I'm back in. You were asking me a question.
Oh, yeah, I was asking you a question. We've had a lot of comments on this item. I know that, see, this is the problem. We ran into this problem before when checks was given to the county and they mysteriously got, we were supposed to give it to somebody else and nobody can actually find those checks. So anyhow, can you verify?
Well, these checks were delivered to the county. I hand delivered them to the county. So if they're missing from the county, they got missing after they got delivered, because I literally hand delivered them with Will Johnson, who was the lawyer who helped to negotiate it. The money's in Richland County.
Okay, well, would you articulate this motion so we can move forward?
So just let me ask a quick question before that, because I missed some of what Mr. Malinowski said. Was his concern that staff had not been given an instruction?
No, that was not his. Mr. Malinowski, would you repeat your concerns to Ms. Myers for clarity?
No, my concern, and I don't know if it's so much a concern as we need to be offered a resolution on this. And I don't know if you heard me, I said that I recall you and Mr. Jackson discussing this. I recall the meeting where it all took place and the $300,000 offered to build the park because of the development taking place. And that was all approved. I said, maybe there's something in economic development, because the minutes that were highlighted in our agenda referred to an economic development. I said, however, the money's been taken. It's my understanding it was taken for the park, as you stated, and that we need to possibly get legal involved here to figure out how we get the money to be used for its intended purpose.
Okay, thank you for that. So then I would move that the legal department be instructed to advise the council or this committee on what steps need to be taken to deliver the park or the $300,000 to the Taylor's community that was negotiated on their behalf many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're saying we're instructing legal to come up with a plan to get this done.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Papa moved in second. If there's no further discussion on this item, Ms. Only, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yep.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item will be item 4I, Emergency Service Department Fire Truck Purchase, and you find that information on page 102 through 104. I will entertain a motion so that we can
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir. Mr. Malinowski, you recognized.
I would make a motion to approve items I and J for the Emergency Services Department.
I second it.
Have a motion to approve item I, 4I and 4J is moved and properly moved in second in the discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, Ms. Only, please call the roll.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yep.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes.
Thank you so very much. Next item will be 4K McIntyre Joint National Guard Base, South Carolina Air National Guard, and I'm not going to do all those little acronyms. Military Construction and Cooperative Agreement to connect the Southeast Sewer and Water Expansion Services, and that information is on page 117 through 163. This is to this has been around for some time, and so I will entertain a motion for discussion.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear second?
I second.
Probably moved in second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
I have Mr. Malinowski, then you, Ms. Myers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Myers, you recognize?
I thought Bill was first. Mr. Mallon?
No, you were
Go
first.
ahead, I'll wait for you.
You
Okay, I just want to say this is a really big win for McIntyre and for the county. I think it's excellent that we're finally at this point where we can connect them. They're the only
Yes.
institution in the country that self-provides. I want to congratulate the utility staff and thank them for getting this done in record time. So thank you.
Yes, this is very good. Mr. Malinowski, you recognized?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Finally, I got one question here, and that would be, has legal reviewed the staff's recommended action where it says to accept the intergovernmental agreement and the military construction and cooperative agreement, MCCA? Because that MCCA seemed to go on and on.
Mr. Brad, are you there to help us, let us know what's going on?
I am, and in my capacity also as a reserve attorney for the Marine Corps, I've seen many contracts and documents like they submitted in connection with this one, and pretty much could apply for master's degree credit at this point on how many of these I've reviewed. There's nothing that was disturbing about any of the documents I reviewed or out of the ordinary.
Okay, well, Mr. Malinowski, does that satisfy your concern?
Fine for that. And the other question I had was over, was the one about, it says there shall be no charges for tap fees for connection to.
What page you on that one? I forgot. I lost my list.
That's on page 119 in the second paragraph, the
19.
line down starts.
Okay, I got it now. Okay, thank you.
No charges for tap fees for connection to the system. And I'm just wondering why there is not. It seems like we charge everyone else.
Can someone answer that question? Mr. Davis, you're recognized.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That the reason that we're not charging tap fees is they are paying for the construction of the connection, and that was part of the original agreement, as to my understanding. I wasn't here at that time, but I understood that went through the staff and council, and it was discussed to bypass the taps as the fact that they are paying for it themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And over on page 152, letter E, the first paragraph, it's highlighted 2020, January 15th, 2020. And that's a gone by date. Is this something that's going to be redone, or what's the purpose of that?
Oh, yes, sir. That's highlighted to make note that we need to make that change once you approve. As this council approves, we will change those highlighted items to the current dates.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Add the
If there's
okay, so the time frames are being changed and we're still moving forward with it, correct?
okay.
Correct, Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's no further discussion. Ms. Only, will you please call the roll?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4, J, Atlas Road Community Park Professional Service Contract. That information is on page 164 through 322. I will entertain a motion so we can discuss this item, and we got 12 minutes.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second? Proper moved in second. Discussion. Yeah, Mr. Malinowski, you recognize?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Who's second? You did, Madam Chair.
I thought you did. If you
No,
didn't,
I can second.
okay, Ms. McBride, second. I thought I heard you second it.
No, ma'am.
All right, well, anyhow, you're seconding it now?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I second it for discussion.
Okay.
Mr. Malinowski, you recognized?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 163, it's got additional fiscal budgetary matters to consider. There's absolutely no info in there. And I'm wondering why not. We're talking about money here.
Well, here again is a little bit kind of confusing to me. So, Mr. Malinowski, so I totally agree.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Brown. Is that Mr. Brown?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir, Mr. Brown, you
It
recognize.
looks- Yes, sir, Mr. Malinowski, it looks like right above that line, you see it says, funds are available, in professional services.
I see that, but I don't see any dollar amounts. It'd be nice to
Yeah,
have
we
it.
don't see dollar
Okay,
amounts.
I hear what you're saying. Okay.
Uh-huh. We got that, we just don't see the dollar amounts.
It'd be nice to get that. And moving on from there, on the next page, 164, second sentence, halfway through, it says, the Richland County Recreation agrees to design, manage, and construct this park. Yet down below, the fourth paragraph starts, staff procured Summit Engineering Lab and testing to conduct the phase 1 environmental site assessment. Well, if RC is doing it all, why is Richland County staff involved with this phase 1?
Mr. Brown, can you answer that question?
I do have members on the team that can answer that question. We may recognize Mr. Voignier, Madam Chair.
Mr. Warner, you're recognized.
Yes, ma'am. To speak to a couple of the questions, the contract amount is for 200,000. I can certainly add that to the briefing document going forward. As to the second question, the procurement of the environmental site assessment was simply a measure to ensure that there are no recognized environmental conditions on the property in order for the Recreation Commission to begin design and construction of the park. Funds were available in our administrative, in our CDBG administration funds for this purpose.
However, the way I was reading this entire bit of information is that there is a specific amount of money that's going to be provided for this park to include all the expenses that are incurred in the development and building of it. Now, you just told me that you have taken money from a different pot to pay for this portion right here. So why is that fair to take another sum of money to use for the project if in fact they're given a one lump sum to do the project with? And now we're picking up part of it already.
The environmental site assessment was not considered to be part of the design and construction of the park.
So can you help us
Ms.
understand?
Dickerson, may I be recognized?
Mr. Malinowski, does that conclude? You want further discussion?
I'm not done, but go ahead, Ms. Myers.
Ms. Myers,
I was just going to try to help provide some clarity, Mr. Malinowski. This park too was one of the parks that I was working on in District 10 long years ago with Tracy Hegler. The money that's now being discussed was encumbered when Valeria Davis was with Richland County, and the environmental site assessment was meant to be done literally 2 years ago. And I guess somebody has moved it forward now to at least get the money used before it expires. I don't know what, but this is an old project too. Actually, this park and the one we discussed about 5 minutes ago were meant to be under an IGA together with Parks and Rec so that they could build them both at the same time, or, using the same companies for economies of scale. But this one's for some reason been broken out. So this is an old discussion, and I guess the staff is just bringing it up now to I guess, maybe get some movement. But this is from, I hope this money is the money that should have been expended years ago, and maybe we're running up against the buzzer to get it out of the county.
Okay, if I may continue, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Malinowski, that was for a point of clarification.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Voignier, on page 166 at 1.4, scope of work condition, it says subrecipient, which is the Recreation Commission, in accordance with the terms of this contract, shall perform all professional services and responsibilities required for the completion of the contract. And then if you go to page 170, number 2.7, environmental review. The subrecipient agrees that the environmental review for this activity will be carried out. So it was up to them to carry it out, not some aspect of staff at Richland County Council. So again, I ask, how is this not a violation of this contract And even if you want to give them credit for doing it, I believe they should be charged out of the funds they're getting and reimburse the Richland County CDBG funds, which can be used elsewhere.
Mr. Voigt, can you answer that question kind of quickly? Because I got 3 minutes.
I understand the environmental site assessment to already be completed. If it is the will of council to have the Recreation Commission reimbursements for those funds, then it would be a decision of council.
Mr. Malinowski?
Okay, and I would also like to know where we got project timelines which are going to have to be changed, correct? Because a lot of them start with October 2020. So are we going to be seeing an updated timeline on this sometime in the future?
That timeline was provided by the Recreation Commission. I can certainly reach out to them and ask them for an updated timeline.
Okay.
Got 2 minutes, Mr. Malinowski.
Is this just a vacant property? The way I'm looking at the map, Mr. Voignier, there's nothing there now, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and I had one other thing I believe here. Oh yeah, this when you go to page 313 of the agenda, and it's got the phase 1 key site manager / owner questionnaire provided by Summit. There are 35 items in this questionnaire. 26 of them they checked are unknown to them. Well, I could have got paid to do that much. Some of these things obviously need to be confirmed prior to work. It looks like somebody sat in the office and filled this out and didn't make any effort to go out and find out. I mean, some simple things like in number 7, any significant areas of stained soil. Number 9, where it talks about are there any fill pipes protruding from the ground? And over in number 22, when it says about any lead paint operations and maintenance program in place at the property. Well, if somebody would have gone there and walked or looked at the property, I'm sure they could answer no to these, but it's obvious 26 out of 35 were unknown. They've probably been paid already, but I think we need to have them go back and do this properly so that we actually have some clarity and a little bit more understanding of what, if anything, is there, not just, I don't know.
Okay, well, Mr. Malinowski, since for lack of time, I need to carry this motion forward or keep it in committee. So we need to vote on it. So I would let Ms. Myers, I acknowledge you for 30 seconds, Ms. Myers, to get this motion straight.
I just make a substitute motion to keep it in committee until the next meeting where the questions can be answered.
Thank you,
Okay, thank you. Properly moved in second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, Ms. Only, please call the roll to keep it in committee to the next A&F committee meeting.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Thank you so very much. We have just one item for no action. It's a utility delegated review. We won't have time to go into that. So with that, we'll just keep this here in committee because it's just an item, no action is required. I will definitely entertain a motion at this time. And I got through it without my antibiotics kicking in to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Ms. Only, call the roll for adjournment.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Thank you. And we
Motion
got
passes.
30 seconds left.